Get ready for the dictation. Start. Mr. Chairman and members of Commission, on behalf of the Government of India, I welcome you to this country and to this place. India has long been associated with the United Nations because India has believed in the aims and purposes of the United Nations, and even though sometimes no tangible results have followed in the United Nations, we have believed that we must follow that course in the hope that tangible results will come sooner or later. We have taken part in your various commissions because we have felt that, quite apart from the political aspect of the United Nations, the economic aspect is at least as important, if not more important. Indeed, we cannot consider the one without the other. Politically, we have not met with great success so far, but I think that if we succeed in the economic field, that will affect the political field also. There has been talk in the past of one word in the political sense, but it is even more important to consider it in the economic sense. You are meeting here to deal with Asia and Asia's problems because we cannot escape looking at almost any problem except in the global context today. Asia is big enough, and the subjects you have to deal with the vast and of very great importance. The Governor of Madras referred to the numerous papers and memoranda that you have before you, and I feel rather overwhelmed when I look at all these files and paper, and when I see all these experts, because I can only speak as a layman. But while experts are quite inevitable in the modern world, sometimes I have a feeling that they become very impersonal and look at problems as if they were mathematical and algebraic formula. Well, we have to deal with human beings and the future of human beings, and Asia, the area under survey, has a population of at least 1,000 million human beings. In India, including Pakistan, there are 40% of those 1,000 millions, that is 400 millions, and we have to deal with these vast numbers, practically half the world's population. If you look at the human aspect of these 1,000 millions, with their sufferings, with their wants, with their joys and sorrows, the problem becomes something much more than a dry economic problem which you have to solve. Now, for many years past, most of these problems have been considered in the world context, and I had a feeling, and I still have that feeling, that the continent of Asia is somewhat neglected, somewhat overlooked. It is not considered important enough for as much attention to be given to it as is given to certain other parts of the world. Possibly that has been so because most of the people who were considering these problems were themselves intimately connected with the other parts of the world, and naturally they thought of them in the first instance. Naturally, also, if I have to consider these problems, I would attach more importance to Asia because it affects me more intimately. About that kind of reaction apart, it is quite obvious that you cannot consider the problem of Asia or the problem of Europe or the problem of America or the problem of Africa in isolation from the problem of other countries. It just cannot be done, and if some countries which are fortunate enough today think that they can lead their lives in isolation irrespective of what happens in the rest of the world, it is obvious that they are under a misapprehension. Today, if one part of the world goes down economically, it has a tendency to drag others with it, just as when, unfortunately, war breaks out, other people who did not want war are involved. So it is not a question of the prosperous merely out of the generosity of their hearts helping those who are not prosperous, though generosity is a good thing. But it is a question of enlightened self interest, realizing that if some parts of the world do not progress, remain backward, they have an adverse effect on the whole economic of the world, and they tend to drag down those parts that are at present prosperous. Therefore, it becomes inevitable to consider these problems in the global way and to pay even more attention to those parts which are relatively backward. Asia has been, for generations past, in a some static and backward condition. But during the last few years, mighty forces have been at work in Asia. These forces inevitably thought in terms of political change to begin with, because without political change, it was not possible to have any far reaching or enduring economic change. Large parts of Asia were colonial territory dominated by other countries. From that connection, they have obtained some advantage sometimes. While it did undoubtedly, in a sense, shake up that static condition, at the same time, it tended to preserve it too for the benefit of the people. Stop.